Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Show. You know, time flies when you're having fun. First segment in the books. We're going to bring Miss Ralph back here in the very last half, finish talking about some of the good subjects. But one of the things that we're doing right now is what you don't know can hurt you. The next biggest thing out there is pest control.
You know, we've been talking about having someone on pest control for a long time, and I kept saying, let's get Tony Thayer on. Let's get Tony Thayer. And we were just sitting here discussing it on the break and said, I've known Tony for 20 years. He's done probably 90% of the inspections. Best bug guy in the business. And so, Tony Thayer with Amaret Pest Control, welcome.
If he has a Facebook package, I am buying it. I got some pests I want to get rid of.
Anyway, welcome to the show, Tony.
Well, thank you much. I've been in pest control business about 34 years.
Oh, wow.
We started Amaret about 24 years ago.
He's seasoned.
We have 17 employees, which a lot of people don't know about that. We are a very diverse company. We not only do regular pest control, which most pest control companies do. We do termite treatments. We also do a lot of rodent exclusions where a lot of people will call up. They've got rats or different insects or different animals that are coming into the house. We have fondness of rats.
You know, we are the Rat Pack. You know.
Yeah, we love those insects, those animals right there.
Yeah. So anyway, so our theme today is what you don't know can hurt you, and I've learned I've known more about subterranean termites than I ever thought I needed to know, and I've learned it all from Tony. And so there's things out there that people aren't aware of, and what do you advise them? I mean, maybe you have some wood-destroying insects or something like that. You know, it's not just subterraneans. There's bees, there's carpenter ants. I mean, so talk a little bit about some of the things that people aren't aware of.
Well, the most thing that we find the people do that they don't pay attention to is and this has to do with subterranean termites, and that is either whether it's eastern subterranean or Formosan, is that they build the soil up above the top of the slab. That's probably the most common situation where they will do that. And you can't see the tunnel coming up the side of the slab. So it's real important to have at least, for me, 2 to 4 inches. Everybody says 4 inches.
Yeah,
but
I think FHA was requiring 4 inches of slab reveal.
That is the number one.
And this typically occurs because they have a landscaper comes in and every year dumps another load of mulch in the beds, in the flower beds and stuff like that.
Oh, they accuse us of paying the landscape company.
Yeah.
You mean you don't? That's the rumor all around you.
Yeah, there's a pre-salted mulch, right? I always accuse Tony of having to throw down termites and stuff, but that's how it occurs commonly. You don't notice it. Every year they say, well, look, we're going to get some new mulch brought in, and so evidently it ends up even covering the weep holes.
That's correct.
And then you can't see if they're tunneling up or not.
But how would you prevent that? I mean, here's a good thing about what you don't know can hurt you. Obviously, one of the things people always want to maintain their yards nice, and so they want to bring in new mulch. How would you prevent anything, knowing that the mulch you're bringing in is, let's say, insect-free, for lack of a better word?
Well, generally the mulch does not have termites in it.
Okay.
It's just that subterranean termites, well, they live in the ground, and they can be as far away from their food source as a city block.
Good night.
They'll travel as much as that far looking for food or water. So when that soil or the mulch or whatever is up above the top of the slab, they travel through the top 6 inches of the ground and they bump into the concrete. Well, they can't go through the concrete, so they'll come up. With that soil being up to where the brick or the wood meets the slab, it's an easy access for them to come in and you don't know it. That's the number one reason people get termites or subterranean termites is the high soil or mulch.
Now, one of the things I've seen this year that's been larger than I've ever seen in any year I've been in a home has been the amount of ants that have been developing this year. Have you seen an increase in this year?
Yes, a large increase in ants.
And what's that attributed to, I guess, right now? I mean, we're seeing, it seems like this year we have seen the amount of piles in my yard, for example, go from maybe on average of 2 or 3 to this year I probably had to kill 20 or 30. I mean, it was just an absolute infestation of ants this year.
Well, ants are basically antisocial from one colony to the other.
Okay.
So when you use amdro-orthene, which is very good, and you go out and you kill this mound off, that mound off, and another one, well, you think, okay, well, we really didn't kill them off. They just moved over. Not really true. Ants are antisocial. If you want to see a good fight, you take one mound, stir it up, take a shovel full of the other mound, and put it over on it, and you'll see that they don't like each other.
Really?
So when you kill
I've got
off,
a good thing I'm going to be playing with from now on.
Anthill 1,
My
meet
neighbors will be
Anthill
like,
2.
Chris, what are you doing? You got a shovel out here and you're taking ant piles? I mean, I'll be doing that all day long.
I would like to introduce you to your neighbors.
so
I hate ants.
ideally, to get rid of the ants in the yard is really do the whole yard, front to back, side to side.
Okay.
And therefore, you pretty much you may not kill them, but you'll kind of keep them and run them to the neighbor's house.
Yeah, you just introduce them to your neighbors.
Hey,
That's
don't
really
play
what
in
you
my
do.
yard. Go play in theirs.
Yes.
Now, my memory serves me correctly, and often it does not, but they live in colonies of millions,
Yes.
and they're there all the time. And what you want to make sure is they don't come to your home, but they're out there in big colonies and stuff like that. What kind of preventative things can you do so they don't have to be calling you
Well,
after the fact?
The biggest thing, they do have granular baits. They have different types of situations that you can put on the soil. But just remember, the strongest colony is on top of the ground. They keep everybody else below the surface. And that's why when you kill off that one colony that you see, of course, we only see what's on top of the ground, it gives the next strongest colony a chance to come up. So you keep going from colony to colony. But the biggest thing is mow the grass, keep it real low, and then put out something that they will carry back to the colony and kill it off. Because that colony, as you said, can be quite large.
In your opinion, do you think most yards have, colonies living in it right now, or is it?
Yeah, most especially because of here. If you're up north where most everything is like a 9-month cycle, here in Houston, it's a 12-month cycle, whether it be termites or ants, whatever.
Yeah, I always tell people it's not if you have termites, it's when you're going to have termites, because they're out there.
I've had to deal with them.
And one other thing out there, speaking, because this is very interesting, speaking of termites, because there are things that you can do, even if you don't have termites today, to prevent or do some preventive maintenance so that if they do start coming around, it's not as big of a challenge as versus them already being there, getting into the weep holes, getting into your home, and then having to go and fight them afterwards.
Sure.
And so talk a little bit about what you would do, what you would suggest somebody if they didn't have termites and they just wanted to do something to prevent them, let's say, or sustain them from ever getting there, versus what you would recommend to somebody who already has them.
Well, if you're speaking of preventing them from coming in, the main thing is keeping the soil lowered. Moisture penetration or rotted wood. A lot of people think subterranean termites only come from the ground up. They do not. They swarm early spring usually, sometimes early fall. They will land in a window ledge. When we do termite inspections for home buyers, that's one of the things, and the next segment is going to be a home inspector, and he's going to tell you that moisture penetration rotted wood is extremely important on a house.
One of the things
Wow.
that I had to deal with, and I don't know, maybe our next guest Ashley will touch on this, but I had to deal with termites, and they had come back a couple times in the same area of the house, and we were treating it and stuff and this sort of thing, and we were fine for a good period of time, but I didn't find out till later on, by accident even, that we had a seal in an upstairs toilet that was leaking, and it was very, very minor. But it was that moisture from that toilet that went down into the walls and got that outside wall, the lumber wet, and that's what kept attracting them back to it. Apparently, I guess. But we had the same toilet, the tank on it just decided it was no longer happy being a tank in life, and it decided to break and soak our whole upstairs ceiling. So it got replaced, and that's when we found out that the seal was bad.
Well,
Great opportunity to buy a new home, by the way. When something
Yeah, right.
There's actually two different types of termiticides. One is a repellent, and one is a contact kill. Termidor, which is probably the most prominent, the best chemical on the market, is that it's a contact kill. Years ago, we used to have mainly repellent. So when you would treat the ground and you had that leak in the structure and there was termites already there, they would come down to the chemical, turn around and go back, because as long as they were able to get moisture above the treatment, they could survive in a situation like you just explained. Where the termiticide, Termidor, is a contact kill. They get into it, do not detect it. It may take as much as 2 weeks or maybe even 2 months to kill the colony off, but they contaminate themselves. They carry it through the tunnels, contaminate and kill off each other, and down in the ground and also up in the structure. So in a situation like that, by using the type of chemicals makes a big importance as to whether you can eliminate a situation.
Now, I don't know if Joe's situation like this, but I know a lot of people think they can go out and spot treat for subterraneans, and FHA doesn't accept that.
That's
My
right.
understanding, you're supposed to do the entire perimeter to do it correctly.
Well, yes, the label calls, and it's very specific on the label, what you need to do, the drilling, the trenching, and the soil injection, that kind of stuff. But also, even though that's the law, the homeowner has the final say. If you're supposed to drill a patio and there's tile and the homeowner doesn't want it to be done, even though that's a area they can come in and sometimes generally do, is that the homeowner says, I don't want it drilled, so I don't want the signs. You don't have to do it, but it should be done. There are multiple.
I do have a question. I've got 2 small kids. They're getting old on me. I just had to rethink that 14-year-old. But anyway, they're still small.
They're always going to be small. They're always going to be your babies.
I'm small. My wife is even smaller, so they still are small despite getting old on me. Anyway, with kids out in the yard and that sort of thing, something that's always kind of been in my head. I really don't want to introduce chemicals into our environment as much as possible. Yet in Texas, you have ants and you've got everything else going on like crazy. Is there a balance where you can treat and not go heavy on the chemicals or?
Yes, there is. The main thing is really control of the situation. But there are a lot of organic, there's a lot of green products out there that you can use for people that do not want to use as much chemical.
Kind of give us an example of some of those.
Oh, soap.
Soap?
Plain
Really?
Oh, yes. We had a speaker, I believe it was Roger Gold from A&M, and we talked, and you talk about ants. He suggested that you could take, and I hate, there's a brand name, it's Ortho, makes a real good sprayer called Dial and Spray. And you can actually put that on the end of the garden hose, and you set the dial for whatever strength you want that soap to be, or whatever chemical you're spraying. Spray the whole yard with soap. And that's what he told us, is you could do that and control the ants. You won't kill them, but you'll run them to the neighbor's house.
What kind of soap are you talking about, like Joy?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, liquid palm olive.
I'll be darned.
You heard
Yeah.
it here first on the
Wow.
Rat Pack
Heard it
Show.
here first. Well, the other thing you're going to hear first,
And my hands are so soft.
is that time flies again
yard
when
is
you're
looking
having
fresh.
fun. Tony, how can we reach you, by the way?
We have a phone number and a limited website. Phone number is 713-880-3479. And we're just planning and we're getting ready to open another office in Montgomery County. So we'll have that.
That is
Best bug guy
awesome.
in the business.
Best bug guy in the business. We're coming up against a break right now, but stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Ain't that a hole in the boat?